Hey Recover fans, Dr. Bobby Thrust. We're here at the Recover Lounge with my boy, my brother, Captain Planet, Lance, Curse, Recover fam.
Welcome to Captain Planet, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about the hair. The purpose for my platform is to explain health and history so we can all have a better understanding of how nature predetermines how our genes are going to do in certain environments, and hopefully challenge a few common beliefs. What if I told you that the original purpose for hair has nothing to do with aesthetics? Surprising, right? Yes, beauty wasn't part of the equation of why you have hair. The evolutionary purpose for hair is for protection from the environment and its harsh elements. But how? Who determines that? Mother Nature, via the process of natural selection. As I've stated in previous videos, natural selection determines what groups of people are going to be most fit for certain environments. And hair is a very important feature which is heavily dependent upon humidity and temperature. Let me explain. First, I'll explain the hair types, then I'll explain which hair types will do best in certain environments. Then I'll provide you with solutions if you happen to end up in unfavorable environments. So there's 4 hair types, or 4 groups of hair. You have type 1, you have type 2, ABC, type 3, ABC, type 4, ABC. So if you look at it from a spectrum, if you look at the type 1 hair, the hair follicle is going to grow out of the pore more vertical. And as you go towards the end of the spectrum, it's going to grow more horizontal. So the more you get towards that type 4C, it's going to grow more horizontal. So it's going to look more like a coil, tight coil. They call it kinks. And the type 1 is more vertical, so it's going to be your straighter hair. So how would those hair types do comparatively in different environments?
We're cool. Your hair is pretty tightly kinked, right? You know why? You know what it's about?
It might be because of moisture, I think.
What else? Yeah, what? Tell me the story.
I really don't know.
Your ancestors had tightly kinked hair and twisted, kinked. There are lots of words for it, but they're really, if you look at your hair up close, it's closest thing to really understanding it or seeing what it is like a kink in it, right? So your ancestors had hair like this, and my ancestors had hair like this, and there's a reason that DNA marker continued on through you. So something to do with moisture, maybe?
Yeah.
Somebody else?
So I think it's because of the sun.
Go ahead.
It protects their heads from the sun.
Hold the mic.
And also it can retain moisture better.
Imagine her afro, by the way, is 3 inches larger.
So the sun can't hit her head.
Yeah, sun can't touch your head. So look, man, the sun, look at my head. First off, I'm a middle-aged white guy that's balding, right? The sun is going to get to the outside part of her hair. It's not going to get to the scalp. Dude, y'all, go back 30,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50, 80, 100,000 years. People don't have hats. You're out in really hot climates without hats. And you got to protect your brain. Why are you protecting the brain?
That way UV ray lights don't kill you.
Anybody? Anyone ever have a heat stroke? You know, you had a heat stroke? Dude, it gets too hot. It starts cooking, man. And it starts cooking, and this is a problem. So you got this afros. We have kinked hair. We say, after we got afros, kinked hair. It pushes the hair away from the skull. And as it pushes the hair away from the skull, the sun hits up here. Look, on me, the sun hits my scalp. The other thing, you know what happens? How long does it take your hair to dry?
So long.
How long do you think it takes my hair to dry?
5.
Yeah, if you had really long hair, though, it would be hours, right? And why do you want moisture in your hair? To keep you cool. So in a hot climate, she needs to be cool. I don't need to. I'm not going to survive in a hot climate, y'all, right? Because I don't have suntan lotion. Imagine, take me back. I don't have suntan lotion. I don't have a hat. I don't have anything to protect me. She does. She's good. Look, she has dark skin, and she's got this hair. It's like she's protected. I'm not protected. So evolution, this is what we see. We see this kind of these hair textures changing over time. Is that awesome? So listen, once again, what evolution does, what life has done, it's given us bodies that have changed to adapt to different areas of the world. Human beings, as they migrate around the world, our bodies adapted to the climates. Today, if you have more tightly kinked hair or wavy hair, you can straighten it. If you have straight hair, you can curl it. You can lighten your skin. You can darken your skin. We have all these things that we can do, and that's fine. You don't have to go natural. You can be not natural and do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter because we have the ability to do that. We can protect ourselves in lots of different ways, but historically we couldn't do that. And so that's why we see all these differences in our bodies, whether it's our ears, our eyebrows, our eyes, our lips, our nose, whatever it is, there are all these differences that our bodies adapt, that are a result of our bodies adapting to climate.
So let's take a warm environment like in the tropics, and we take let's say we take a type 1 or a type 2, and let's take a type 4 A, B, or C, and you put those all in a group in Congo. So you're in an environment where it's more humid, where it's hot. That environment is going to be more favorable to people who have a type 4 hair, anywhere from type 4A to type 4C, because that hair now grows up like a coil. It grows up away from the neck to keep the neck cool so the body can cool down. So it also catches the humidity and the moisture and acts as a barrier in between the sun. So it's cooling off your brain while having a barrier between the sun. So if you were to grow your hair, if you had a type 4 hair, it would look more like a afro, and it'll create that barrier, that buffer. So the natural hair, if it's grown in this natural state, it'll grow in a way where it's going to protect the body. So that would look something similar to like a bucket cap or an umbrella. But let's say if we compared that to the person who's more of a type 1 or a type 2, well, their hair is going to drop and cover the neck. So it's going to be similar to like a hoodie, a turtleneck, or a scarf. That hair is going to be made to cover the neck to protect it from a cold environment so that the body doesn't freeze itself over, as opposed to someone who has the kinky hair that grows up. It's going to grow away from the neck so the body can cool itself off. But if you happen to have hair that drops to cover the neck and you're in Congo, well, you're going to be overheated. So if we move those groups of people, let's say to Norway or Sweden, the person with the hair that drops to cover the neck is going to be more protected from the environment because it was designed to thrive in that environment. You can be in any environment you want to. You may feel better in other environments, but if you happen to move those two groups of people in the environment, well, the person with the hair that drops to cover the neck is going to be more favorable for them. The person the hair that grows up away from the neck, well, they're going to be more colder than the person with the hair that drops to cover the neck, because nature didn't decide for that hair type to be there. It's going to be very uncomfortable for a person with the hair that grows up in Norway and Sweden, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for the person in Congo with the hair that drops to cover the neck. So keep that in mind, because these are some things that we should take in consideration. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. It's just that there's different hair types for different environments, and it's not about beauty or what looks best and who's the best, and there's no hierarchy, there's no pecking order. We're just given specific traits so that we can thrive, because natural selection didn't account for us to create combustion engines and planes and trains and get from one place to another as fast as possible. Natural selection didn't know that we were going to make ships and ship people all across the world and mix people up. There may be some uncomfortableness based on where you're at and which environment you're in, but as long as you know your genetics and where they come from, you can mimic wherever you're at. So if you know me, if you watch my videos right now, you know I have some type of history hidden somewhere in my videos. So for this part, I'm going to talk about the Crown Act. The Crown Act was passed in 2019, which allowed for people who were typically African Americans or people with tight, coiled, or curly hair to wear their natural hair out at work. Before, it was seen as unprofessional. It also states in the Crown Act that there's discriminations.
We are back now with a movement to fight discrimination based on how people wear their hair. We've seen the stories, black children being forced to remove their braids, even having their hair cut without parental permission, allegedly due to a school dress code. Well, now a new bill could stop that from happening. GMA contributor Megan Wright is here with the story. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning. The legislation is called the Crown Act and helps to stop prejudice in schools and workplaces. This segment is sponsored by Dove, one of the leaders of the movement to get the law passed. I spoke to an Oscar winner and a young girl who are also joining the fight against this kind of injustice. Take a look.
Curls, twists, braids, and locks. These natural hairstyles are popular in the black community. But many workplaces and schools have policies that discourage them. But there's a growing movement to hopefully change that. Filmmaker Matthew Cherry created the animated short film Hair Love. The 7-minute short tells the story of a father learning how to do his daughter's hair for the first time.
That was so much fun.
The film earning Cherry an Oscar and a platform that he used to introduce audiences to new legislation.
Hair Love was done because we wanted to see more representation in animation. We wanted to normalize black hair. There's a very important issue that's out there. It's the Crown Act.
The Crown Act is a bill that demands protection against race-based hair discrimination in the workplace and in schools. The word crown holds the message, creating a respectful and more open world for natural hair.
A lot of different ethnic groups is not even anything they have to think about. You know, they're able to, wear their hair how they want to, get up in the morning, go to work, go to school, and, nobody bothers them. For black people and people with natural textured hair, it's an issue.
Matthew Cherry is a spokesperson for our sponsor, Dove. Dove co-founded the Crown Coalition in 2019 to advocate for the passing of the Crown Act across the country. So far, the bill has been signed into law in only 14 states.
It allows you to have a resource if you're in one of the states that passed a law to have a course of legal action to try to help rectify the situation.
Like in the case of 14-year-old Faith Finity, who back in 2018 was told wearing braids violated her school's uniform policy.
It was my first day of 6th grade, and my homeroom teacher was going over the rules. And when she got the dress code, she asked me in front of everyone if my hair was real or fake. I just tried to brush it off and tell her that it's my hair. And then a little later, the guidance counselor came in and she told me that I had to remove my braids.
How would you describe how you felt that day?
I was really hurt. I just didn't understand where all this was coming from.
She was denied an education because of how she wore her hair. And, that's awful. That shouldn't happen to any child.
Faith's brother capturing the incident on video and posting it online where it quickly went viral.
What's wrong with her hair?
And he caught me bursting into tears. And a lot of people saw it.
Faith is now a spokesperson for Dove, doing what she can to bring more awareness to the Crown Act.
Are there any changes that you're hoping to see?
I really want to see the Crown Act passed in all 50 states.
If people want to join the fight to help Dove and race-based discrimination, they would go to dove.com/crown, and that would lead them to petitions that they can sign to help spread the word.
Faith now attends a new school where she says she feels more comfortable and is free to wear her hair however she chooses. Back to you, Michael.
I love the name of it, the Crown Act, because you just think about the crown. Sometimes they'll try and make it like you just do this. That means that I'm right near my crown.
It's your own crown.
Yeah.
I love your hair, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can't really identify discrimination. Maybe you don't get a job, maybe you don't get hired because you don't look a certain way or your hair's not a certain way. Well, it was really good that the Crown Act was passed, which led to more variety in the workplace, which led to more acceptance. It was unfortunate that it had to be passed in 2019, but keep in mind, segregation ended in 1964, so that isn't too far back. But relatively, yeah, this stuff is all new. Racial relations and tensions this is a very new thing. It's probably about 50, 60 years old. That's not old at all. We live in an era where we tend to forget how close things are in relation to where we're at. But yeah, there's a lot of things that people are uncomfortable with, especially differences of skin and hair and nose and all that stuff. So this is part of the reason why I like to touch on this stuff. And this is not to make anyone feel bad or make anyone feel ashamed of the past, because actually not a lot of people know this stuff. I like to talk about it to bring perspective to today so that everyone could be more tolerable or understand and accepting of differences, not blind to differences or act like differences doesn't exist, but more accepting, because differences is the way that we move forward in life. So solutions, I like to end with solution. It brings understanding to the whole situation. If you happen to be a person with hair that drops or a type 1 hair and you end up close to the equator or the Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn, they call it the torrid zone. If you happen to end up anywhere near there, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to wear your hair up or away from the neck, because it's typically hot in those regions. Like here in Miami during the summer, it's terrible, even for someone with hair that grows up. Putting your hair up away from the neck will allow you to cool down. You may want to wear a bucket cap or an umbrella or something to cover the head. A lot of people with type 1 hair do have issues with excess sebum. That's the oil that secretes from the pores of the head. You may want to put some dry shampoo in your hair to dry the hair out so it can be more palatable. It can be more manageable. So if you happen to have type 3 or type 4 hair and you happen to move to a region like New York or Canada, Chicago, where it's very windy and dry during the winter, Milwaukee, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to apply hair oils to your scalp so your scalp's not going to break, it's not going to create those scabs, and also you're going to have more oil on your hair so that it doesn't have so much breakage. Also, you may just want to drop your hair. You may want to dread it up or wear a hairstyle where it drops, or just wear a hoodie or a scarf or a turtleneck, anything that covers that neck so that you can kind of mimic what someone with a type 1 or type 2 hair would have naturally, because it drops to cover that neck in those environments. So it's almost like you want to look at, someone who's more suitable for that environment. You want to mimic that on both sides. So as we mentioned, hair isn't necessarily a beauty feature. It wasn't originally designed to be that way. But since it is, we all have to take in consideration that hair is different, and hair isn't necessarily beautiful or ugly. Those terminologies are subjective, but objectively, hair does better in certain environments. It's made to protect you from certain environments. So thank you for watching today's episode on hair. Next episode is going to be on the skin. I'm going to feature Nina Jablonski. She's like the guru. So stay tuned. I'll see you next time.